$634,000. That's how much his supporters raised. One day after Karmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison, he filed a legal document describing himself as, and these are the exact words from the court filing, penniless, destitute, and indigent, too poor to employ counsel to represent him on the appeal. $634,000, penniless. That contradiction didn't close the case, it reopened it. And the crowdfunding number wasn't the only contradiction that emerged in the days after sentencing. On June 10, 2026, one day after the verdict, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice released a new photograph of Karmelo Anthony. Shaved head, sleeveless white tunic, a number printed across his chest. He is 19 years old. He was transferred from isolation at Collin County Jail to the Wallace Pack Unit, a state prison facility near Navasota, Texas, approximately 90 miles from the courtroom where 12 people decided his fate. He will be 36 before he is eligible for parole, if the conviction stands, and if he serves half his sentence. That image circulated nationally within hours. For many people, it was the first time they had seen him since the verdict. For others, it was the moment the abstraction of a court case became something else entirely. Now, about that $634,000. GiveSendGo, the platform that hosted the fundraiser, posted a statement after shutting the page down. The funds, they said, had been dispersed over the past year for lawful purposes, including legal defense and family relocation. The fundraiser's own stated purpose had made clear that donations would cover more than courtroom costs, safe relocation for the family due to escalating threats, basic living expenses, counseling, transportation, security. A second fundraiser, organized by Dallas-based civil rights activist Dominique Alexander, appeared on the platform shortly after the first was taken down. The court has not yet ruled on Anthony's indigency claim. What's documented is this: the original campaign raised $633,908. The platform did not specify how much went to attorneys and how much went to everything else. Those two facts exist on the same page of the record, without resolution. June 22, 2026, 12 days after the verdict. A new legal team announced they were taking over Karmelo Anthony's case, pro bono, no charge. 6 attorneys. The announcement came through the Stand with Karmelo Coalition, and when you look at who signed on, this is not a standard appellate team assembled for a high-profile case. These are people whose entire careers are built on finding where the system broke down. Russell Wilson, II, leads the effort. Board certified in criminal law since 2003. Former Dallas County prosecutor who argued at both the state and federal levels for nearly 3 decades. In 2011, he was appointed to lead the Dallas County District Attorney's Conviction Integrity Unit, at the time described as the first of its kind in the country. He has spent decades specifically looking for cases where the process failed. Second chair, Michael Ware, board-certified criminal law attorney. He is the one who actually founded that Conviction Integrity Unit before Wilson led it, Ware built it. He is now with the Innocence Project of Texas. Third chair, Gary Bledsoe, president of the Texas NAACP since 1991, admitted to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. He has spent 35 years in civil rights litigation. Also on the team, Brooke Cluse, civil rights attorney and chief of staff to Ben Crump, the lawyer whose name appears in virtually every major racial justice case of the last decade. Sean Derdia, a criminal defense attorney known for murder and capital murder cases. Justin Moore, whose practice focuses on post-conviction advocacy. Their stated mission, and this is from their own announcement, is to determine whether a legal error occurred and to ensure that every issue supported by the record is fully and vigorously presented on appeal. Read that again carefully, not to determine innocence, not to relitigate the facts, to determine whether a legal error occurred. That's a specific procedural framing, and it tells you something about how they read this trial record. Among the evidence, a Texas court unsealed after the conviction, bodycam footage, surveillance video, 911 calls, crime scene photographs, was something advocates had been asking to see since the moment the verdict came in. No cameras were allowed inside the Collin County courtroom during the trial. That was Judge John Roach's ruling, a decision he said was made to protect the process, the witnesses, and the jury. The public followed through pool reports, through statements from attorneys, through whatever leaked out around the edges. After the conviction, that changed. On June 19, 2026, Judge Roach released a significant volume of trial evidence to the public. Bodycam footage, surveillance video from 5 separate camera angles at Kuykendall Stadium, photographs of the knife, the 911 calls, crime scene images. The surveillance footage shows a figure in a gray sweatshirt emerging from behind a yellow tent and running down the bleacher steps. He trips, gets up, keeps running, turns once to look behind him, keeps going. The footage is grainy. The confrontation beneath the tent is not directly captured on any of the released video. The bodycam footage is something different. In it, Karmelo Anthony is heard telling Officer Eduardo Cortez, through what witnesses described as tears, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me." In a separate recording, as Cortez refers to him as the alleged suspect, Anthony responds, "I'm not alleged, sir. I did it." Those two statements, one that sounds like a plea for someone to understand what happened, one that sounds like an admission, exist in the same few minutes of footage. During trial, Anthony's demeanor in the bodycam became a point of active contention. Specifically, whether he was crying or calm, whether the emotional display was consistent with someone who had acted in genuine fear or inconsistent with it. Advocates who viewed the released evidence said it did not match descriptions that had been offered during trial testimony. Those assessments came after reviewing the released materials. The jury saw this footage during trial. They deliberated for less than 3 hours. What the new legal team is looking for in the record is not primarily whether the footage itself was shown. It was. The question is how the jury was instructed to interpret it, what legal framework they were given, whether the self-defense instruction they received was adequate given the facts presented. That is a different kind of argument, and it is one of several they are building. The most consequential detail about the jury that convicted Karmelo Anthony wasn't what they decided. It was who they were. 12 jurors, no black members. Collin County is one of the fastest-growing counties in the United States. According to census data, the population is approximately 48% white. In a county that diverse, ending up with a jury of 0 black members is not, according to a criminal law professor at Southern Methodist University, inevitable. The professor told reporters, "It is a choice." Here is what happened during jury selection, on the record. The prosecution used peremptory challenges, the ability to strike a limited number of potential jurors without providing a specific reason, to remove 3 qualified black jurors. The stated reason was their profession. They were educators. The defense objected. Judge John Roach allowed the strikes anyway. The objection the defense raised invokes a specific legal framework. Batson v. Kentucky, a 1986 U.S. Supreme Court ruling establishing that lawyers cannot use peremptory challenges solely based on race. A Batson challenge requires the defendant to show a pattern of race-based exclusion. The prosecution then must offer a race-neutral explanation. The judge rules on whether that explanation is credible. The defense raised it. The judge ruled against them. That ruling is now in the trial record, and it is, according to Dallas Appellate Attorney David Cole, who was not involved in the case, likely one of the strongest issues on appeal. His analysis: the first is, are we in the right county or should we be in Collin County? Then we go to the race issue, because before we even start the trial, we've got to have a jury. Did we do that right? And then once we got the trial going and heard all the evidence, did we tell the jury what to do correctly? 3 separate questions, 3 potential grounds. Andrew Anthony, Karmelo's father, said in a CBS Mornings interview that black attorneys had advised him before the trial to hire a white lawyer for it. His words: "They're like, oh, you need a white attorney to go out there to fight out there." He said what stuck out to him most after the verdict was the all-white jury. "They did a number on us," he added. "We didn't get justice. A lot of things that were missed that should have been handled a certain way." The new legal team includes the president of the Texas NAACP and attorneys who specialize in exactly this kind of institutional review. Their presence in this case is not incidental to the jury composition question. It is almost certainly central to it. At the same time, Austin Metcalf's father said in his victim impact statement that this case was never about race. The Collin County District Attorney called the jury's decision an act of accountability. Both of those positions are also part of the documented record. Austin Metcalf's father had one response to everything that happened after the verdict. It was 3 words. Jeff Metcalf said the Anthony family was monetizing his son's death. He said it watching the crowdfunding contradiction play out. He said it watching the new legal team announce themselves. He said it watching advocates call the verdict a travesty and protesters invoke the names of other cases alongside his son's name. Jeff Metcalf received a death threat the day after the verdict, multiple threatening messages the following morning. Both families, the Anthonys and the Metcalfs, have been living under the weight of this case for 14 months. Both have been threatened. Both have asked for it to stop. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis, at his press conference after the verdict, justice was served. A year ago, when this senseless murder unfolded, I said that it had struck a deep nerve in Collin County and far beyond. I asked our community to ignore all the noise and instead be level-headed and patient as the process worked. And today, the process delivered accountability. Andrew Anthony the same week: "It's unfortunate. It's where nobody wins. We've all been hurt by this. Everybody, everyone." Those 2 statements came from opposite sides of a verdict, about the same event, with the same weight behind them. Neither family asked for this case to become what it became. Neither family will be finished with it anytime soon. The appeal process doesn't resolve the grief, it extends it. A Texas appeal is not a retrial. It is a review. Specifically, a review of whether legal errors occurred during proceedings and whether those errors affected the outcome. The new team has filed a substitution of counsel and announced they will conduct a fresh, independent review of the full trial record. Here is what they are likely examining, based on the documented record. The Batson challenge: whether the prosecution's removal of 3 qualified black jurors using race-neutral justifications was sufficient, or whether it constituted an impermissible pattern under established law. The venue question: whether Collin County was even the proper jurisdiction for this trial, given the publicity and the demographics. The self-defense instruction. Whether the jury was correctly instructed on the legal standard for self-defense in Texas, and whether any error in that instruction may have changed the outcome. The evidence record, including the body cam footage, the surveillance video, and any discrepancies advocates have raised about how the evidence was characterized during trial versus what it actually shows. If the Texas Fifth Court of Appeals, the Intermediate Appellate Court, affirms the conviction, the case can go to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the state's highest criminal court. If federal constitutional claims are raised, federal courts become a possibility. Texas appeals take time, 1 to 3 years at minimum, before a decision is typically rendered. Karmelo Anthony will be 21 or 22 before that process concludes. He continues serving his 35-year sentence at the Wallace PAC unit while every step of that process unfolds. A successful appeal does not mean automatic release. It means a new trial is possible. He is 19. He will be old before this is over, however it ends. 60 seconds at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, April 2025. 14 months later, a 19-year-old is inside the Wallace PAC unit, a Texas state prison near Navasota. A 6-attorney pro bono legal team, including the head of a conviction integrity unit and the president of the Texas NAACP, is working through a trial record looking for where the process may have broken down. A father is watching the appeal unfold and calling it an exploitation of his dead son's name. A jury of 12 people, none of them black, who deliberated for less than 3 hours, has their decision placed now before a higher court. A crowdfunding page raised $634,000 and went dark the day of the conviction. None of that changes what happened under that tent. Austin Metcalf is still dead. The appeal will not change that. The new legal team will not change that. Whatever the courts decide in 1 year or 3 or more, a 17-year-old boy went to a track meet on a rainy Wednesday morning and didn't come home. His father has received death threats. His name is invoked now alongside other names by people who never knew him in arguments about things far larger than him. He was a junior in high school. He ran track. The courts will do what courts do. The record will be reviewed. A decision will be rendered eventually about whether the process was fair. Austin Metcalf does not get a review. If this case made you think, tell me what you think in the comments. And if you want the next full breakdown, it's already up.